Welcome to my pencast for Accounting 1110, Chapter 1. I like to have a goal with my pencast, and my goal in this pencast is for you to understand the role of financial reporting in the financial sector. In accounting, we produce something called financial statements. And financial statements are used primarily by two groups. There are inside users and there are outside users. Inside users include the people like the finance department and different managers, and they want certain kinds of information from accounting, and we have classes that teach these topics. We have finance classes and managerial accounting classes. So in Accounting 1110, our focus will not be on outside users, inside users, Our focus will be on outside users. And there are two groups of these we'll focus our attention on. One is creditors, people who might be willing to lend us money. And two, potential owners, people who might be willing to become owners with us. So what we need to do is learn how to prepare financial statements for outside users to help them answer credit and ownership decisions. Would they like to lend us money or become an owner and be involved in running the business? The way that they will figure out if they want to do this is they will analyze our financial statements. We'll provide to them an income statement. And an income statement shows revenues and expenses are the results of operations for a period of time. We'll provide to them a statement of changes in owner's equity, which shows how much each owner owns. We'll provide to them a balance sheet, which shows the financial position of a business at a point in time, and a cash flow statement, which explains how money came into and left the business. And accompanying all of this are the very important notes to financial statements, the narrative that explains the numbers in the financial statements. God, Rick. These financial statements are prepared for outside users with the idea that they have a reasonable understanding of the rules financial statements are made under. And these rules are called generally accepted accounting principles, and we'll refer to them throughout this course as GAAP. The Financial Accounting Standards Board, the FASB, is currently the board in the United States that promulgates GAAP, comes up with new GAAP. There is, just as a note of interest, an international financial accounting standards board that's coming into play, and they produce something called IGAAP. Currently, though, the United States uses the FASB and Generally Accepted Accounting Principles to produce their financial statement. Also involved is the Security and Exchange Commission. The Security and Exchange Commission has quasi-judicial authority to oversee the working of the FASB. But they prefer not to get involved in the day-to-day writing of new accounting rules. They prefer to leave that to the experts, the accountants, and I, for one, am glad. The Internal Revenue Code's been left up to Congress to write, and we've seen what a mess that is, so let's leave GAAP up to the accountants, shall we? So, the rules that these financial statements are prepared under are known as Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, And outside users are aware of these rules, and if they are reasonably knowledgeable about generally accepted accounting principles, then they can use these financial statements to answer the investment decisions. Do they want to invest in this, lend this money, perhaps become an owner? As you can see, it would be very important that the information provided would be fairly presented. And the way that this is accomplished is financial statements are audited by certified public accountants. Certified public accountants gone through a lot of training, taken a test to prove their level of understanding, and they come in and they review the financial statements. Now, financial statements for a business are prepared by the business, and an auditor comes in and they review these financial statements, and then they can attest to their accuracy. Either they're presented fairly or not, though there is other language that they use to say how the financial statements are. The point being that if you have financial statements and they have been audited by a certified public accountant, then you know that they've been prepared in conformance with generally accepted accounting principles. As we all know, there's been some failures in the past, and you'll note in your readings in your book that certain laws, like SOX, have been passed to ensure that those problems have been corrected. The accounting firms that cause those problems no longer exist. As we move forward into studying financial accounting, financial reporting, and Accounting 1110, we'll usually take the approach of the preparer of the financial statements. That is, we're going to learn how to make financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and so we'll actually produce financial statements. But every now and then, not as much at first, but towards the end of the chapter, we'll step back and we'll become a user of financial statements. And these are people that take the statements and analyze them. It's hard to spell and write, think at the same time. Users take financial statements and analyze them and answer investment decisions. They use them for decision making. I have to stop and spell or I start making silly spelling mistakes. So mostly we'll be the preparer, but occasionally we'll flip to the user. And when we do that, I'll remind you of this discussion. But it's important to note on day one, right out of the chute, that we are learning to make financial statements to present to outside users who will use them and analyze them and decide if they would like to lend us money or perhaps become an owner. Can you imagine what our economy would be like if no one would lend money or buy stock or invest in other businesses? So you can see that for our lives to be like they currently are and our financial systems to be in place, the role of accounting is very important. And ethics will always be a hot topic in this field. Some will have more to talk about as the semester progresses. Thanks for joining me on this short spincast, on this short pencast, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Bye for now.